hard times create hard men. Hard men create soft times. All these things have to align together in order for it to be successful.
Be the hero of your own movie.
He's entertained us for quite some time, from Fear Factor to UFC and many other things. Now his podcast, Joe Rogan and his 10 Rules of Greatness.
Your life would feel better and richer if you had a goal, you chase that goal, you accomplish some things, you would get this boost of confidence, you'd get this boost of self-esteem, like whatever it is that you're into doing. Maybe you're into drawing comic books, maybe you're into making pottery or sculptures, but find whatever the that is and pursue that instead of doing nothing. You can't be weak.
Yeah.
And in this country, being weak is thought of as a virtue.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson has a really interesting way of looking at this, and he said it to me once, and it made a lot of sense. He said, people think that you should be weak and you should be docile and then you should be a pacifist. He goes, no, you should be a monster. He said you should be a monster, you should be ruthlessly ambitious, and then learn how to control it. And it's that old expression, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Wow.
It's an old expression, but it makes sense because it doesn't mean that you can't be kind if you're strong, but it does mean you can't be strong if you're weak. They knew even then, even thousands of years ago, they knew there's a right way to do things and there's a wrong way to do things. There's, when you pick up the people's bags, you feel good. Let's tell kids that. Yeah. Let's teach people that. You pick up the bags, you feel good. You hold the door open, you feel good. You help someone, you feel good. You really act like that thing is watching over you and that there's codes and tenets that you have to live by. Like most of the tenets of Christianity, if you look at them, if you really follow Jesus' rule, which most people don't, but if you really did, you'd be doing a lot of great work. You know, you'd be helping people. You'd be treating each other as if they were your brothers and sisters.
Be the hero of your own movie. If your life was a movie and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now? Do that. Do those things. We define ourselves far too often by our past failures. We look at our past and we say, well, that's me. That's not you. You are this person right now. You're the person who's learned from those failures, and you can choose to be the hero of your own movie right now. Write down your goals. Write down things you want to improve. Write down things you won't tolerate from yourself. Write down things that you've done in the past that you never want to see yourself do again. And go forth from here as the hero of your own movie.
Find something. Find a thing that you genuinely enjoy, because getting good at things you genuinely enjoy is extremely beneficial for young people, because it lets you know that, like, everybody thinks they're a loser. Every young person thinks they're a loser. At least a young person in the situation I was at. Like, I didn't know I wasn't a loser until I started winning, until I started doing martial arts. Martial arts taught me that, like, I could get better at stuff, that I wasn't really a loser. I just was someone who was, like, in a fucked up situation. But you could channel all that energy that you have as a young person into something and get better at it. And then all of a sudden people admired me. I was like, this is crazy. So I went from being someone who was incredibly insecure and basically a failure to someone who was really successful at this one thing that was very dangerous, that other people were scared of. And that gave me immense confidence and also a real understanding of the direct correlation between hard work and success. There's been many, many people that have just put their foot down and said, enough, I'm going to change my life. And they don't take any excuses, and they feel way, way better. Diet is most certainly a part of that, but there's also a discipline aspect. And these things are not mutually exclusive. They exist together. They're all together. And they work symbiotically. The way your mindset affects the choices you make with your diet.
And the mindset also affects the choices you make in terms of like whether or not you require yourself to exercise. And I think these are critical aspects that people like to gloss over, or they like to make excuses about. And they get very angry if you don't accept those excuses. And that's a sign that they're trying to enforce this standard and this idea and push it on you and give themselves an excuse. And it's one of the reasons why they get angry. It's one thing if someone has a legit physical issue like you do, but there's a lot of people who do not. They just have poor diet choices, they have a sedentary lifestyle, and they have the momentum of this sedentary lifestyle that's holding them back. They're accustomed to being lazy.
I don't think people are happy if they don't have puzzles and complex tasks and things that are interesting to them, whether it's an art project or whether it's learning something completely new like stand-up comedy. Like doing things that are difficult is it's as much of a nourishment of the mind as food is a nourishment of the body. I think you need things that are puzzling to you, where you have to find your own human potential in the difficulty of the task and work your way through things. At least for me. For me, I mean, I can only speak for me because I'm the only life that I've ever lived that I'm aware of. And in my life, that has been 100% constant. I am a very happy person, and I have never had a moment where I'm not doing difficult shit.
Yeah, you can get a hater who's like 90% hater, but 10% has a point. It does help you. I really believe it. It's a terrible feeling, that feeling when someone's hating on you, but I find it very beneficial. Because for two reasons. One, because it's like snake venom. Because like if you get bit by a rattlesnake and you've ever been bit by a rattlesnake before, it will you up. Like someone who has never been famous and then all of a sudden decides to do a reality show, and then they get all these insults hurled at them from every direction online. That has got to be horrific. That's just going to be torturous. But when you take a little bit of hate venom and a little bit of hate venom, then you develop an immunity to it. You kind of understand what it is.
It becomes enjoyable.
Well, then it becomes a checking mechanism, and I look at it almost like as if it's an algorithm. And I look at it like, well, this negative coming in, like how much does it affect me, and how much does it affect the positivity that I put out? Like, if I dwell on it, well, then it'll surely me out. But if I just look at it, and if I truly look at myself to say, okay, do they have a point? And if they do have a point, if I am being a like that's very important to be honest about that and to look at that. Part of success is just not being fucking lazy and just doing it. Yeah. That's like 90% of it is just showing up. Get there and start working. Like, you're not going to feel perfect every day. If I only worked out when I felt good, I'd be a fat fuck. Because there's a lot of days I don't want to do it. It's pretty much the same with everybody that actually gets good at something. There's got to be those days you push through, and they're probably going to be more numerous than the days you don't. And so the benefit of discipline, in my eyes, has always been that through discipline I get things done. It's in your head that this is what I do. This is what, and you have pride in that. And then when you are in front of that keyboard and you look down the count, it says, I got 1,000 words today. I put 1,000 words in. You're doing the work, and out of that work, gems blossom. Little things, but you might have a day where you just write nothing but dog shit. So what? Show up again tomorrow. If I look back on anything I've ever done, mistakes I've ever made, paths that something that I put out that I didn't quite think, man, maybe I just waited 3 months before I released that, or maybe I should have, re-edited that blog post a couple more times before I put it online, or those things drive me crazy. Mm-hmm. Things that I've done have driven me crazy, but yelling at someone I didn't have to yell at them for, whatever. But the most important thing is always for all people to recognize that you're not who you were a year ago. You're not who you were 5 years ago. You're not who you were last week. You're who you are now, and this is the only shit you have control over. So you got to regulate how much you dwell on regrets of the past. You really got to be careful, because it's good to have a little. because my regrets, whether it's things of professional nature or the very few regrets friendship-wise, which is one thing that makes me very happy. But you know, there's life is strange. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of factors happening in life. But for sure, who I am now wouldn't have ever happened if I didn't fuck up. If I didn't make those mistakes, I wouldn't have understand the importance of friendship and kindness. And if I hadn't been cruel at some point in my life, or someone hadn't been cruel to me, I wouldn't understand the beauty of love. I wouldn't understand the full range of it because I hadn't felt the sting.
Doesn't matter if you're a Joe Rogan fan or not, you can look at his success and model some of the behaviors he's adopted. So hopefully you'll take some of his 10 rules and adopt them to your life and see how you can become great. In the comments below, make sure you leave rules that you're adopting to improve your life, and I want to hear about how it's changing you in the future. Thank you.